All right. Additional thoughts. Finally Rich by Chief Keef. And I enter this with slight hesitation, just slight hesitation. It's been an interesting week with this album. A little different because of Christmas, so my normal kind of listening time was disrupted. And it turned out to be in a good way. Going through this album, listening to it for the first time was fun. It was different. It was enjoyable. I liked how kind of the higher energy of, I guess you would call, drill kind of pulled me in, just in terms of a sound, in terms of a tempo, an energy, whatever you want to call it. But then after the reaction, I'm getting on Discord and people are chatting and this and that. And some people sent me some messages. And one of the videos I saw was an interview with Chief Keef. It was for Vice or something. He's sitting down and talking to a therapist for like 25 minutes. And it was tough because watching that guy, just listening to him kind of talk to this therapist, the whole setting was just kind of odd to begin with. Like, it's a 25-minute thing. I mean, what all can you really get through in 25 minutes? Which kind of put the question in my mind, well, what is the point of all of this? I guess other than to just scratch the surface. But to me, therapy isn't really about scratching the surface. It's about getting in there. So anyway, but just watching this guy talk to this therapist. And at one point, the therapist asked him, how many people do you know that you've lost to violence? And he just rattles off name after name after name after name. And it's like, holy fuck, man. And just watching him respond, not respond, the answers he gives or doesn't give. I mean, the guy just, the thing that was going through my mind is this guy's fucked up. And I don't mean like, I basically like a PTSD type thing. And it was hard. It was hard to process. It was hard to comprehend. It was hard to, in some ways, believe, just because, some of these, I mean, what blows me away is this is all in the same country, and obviously cities and in the rural areas are different, and states are different, and the coasts are different. I mean, obviously there's all these different areas, different regions in the United States. But to think that somebody could live in this country, and in the portion of the country they live in, the environment is so violent and such a war zone that the people who come out of it basically have wartime PTSD. I can't really process that. And so I struggled with that. I struggled with the idea of, learning more about drill music and what it's inspired by, which is essentially the environment of that violence and all this other stuff. And then going through the album again and kind of zooming out a little bit and seeing how these different tracks are kind of like coping mechanisms for that environment and trying to either cover over the pain or process the pain or push the pain along or however you want to describe it. And then the idea that I'm supposed to, no, not supposed to, but the idea of this is music to listen to for my enjoyment. It just didn't sit with me that well. That concept, not the music itself, but that concept. And this has come up before for my channel and other channels. Rick Rubin talked about it. Just the suffering of artists and how it is a thing. It is a thing. And suffering makes great art from time to time. Well, often, I suppose. Well, who knows? We don't know about all the crappy art that's made via suffering, right? Only the good stuff floats up. It's so I kind of had a hard time with the album in the sense of, I don't know if I want to listen to this because while I can enjoy it, and I hadn't really clicked with it right away either on the reaction listen, and then the second listen, I was like, yeah, this is cool, but not cool enough for it to overcome this uncomfort that I'm feeling. Had some time away from the album, which was good. Put it on again during a drive. Okay, yeah, cool. Christmas, Christmas Eve, Christmas, all this other stuff with the in-laws and gone. Got home, went for a run, went for a 5-mile jog. That's right, old man Bob still cracking off 5-mile jogs. Listened to the album the whole time. It kept me going. I still felt old and fat and like I ate too much pie on Christmas Day, but it kept me going, and that was kind of neat. And it, jogging is a neat experience. Neat. Oh, God. Neat. So my wife and I have already recorded tomorrow's video, which is Anti by Rihanna. And in that video, at one point, she points out to me, oh, by the way, I saw some comments where people are saying all you do is say the word neat. I don't know where anybody gets that idea from. I never say the word neat over and over and over again.
But it's interesting.
Or interesting. I also never say interesting or huh. Although I like the huh, because that's me really.
That's fine.
That's me really processing stuff.
But it is interesting.
It is interesting and neat. Anyway, before I lose my train of thought, because it's slipping away, it's leaving the station, and I don't even got my ticket yet. Going for a jog, it's a different state. You're physically doing something. You're getting tired. Your brain kind of shifts away. You're not focused on other things. You're kind of trying to distract yourself while also not being distracted by anything. It's kind of a strange balance. I remember when I was listening to I Don't Like Shit, I Don't Go Outside by Earl Sweatshirt, listening to that album while going for long jogs. Very different experience. Those two albums, obviously not similar in any fashion. But I did get the feeling of, okay, this is, again, that energy. Like I said in the reaction, I want to do this, which is, in my opinion, noteworthy because I don't usually like to do this. I don't really want to move around. And I started thinking about this concept of where this music comes from, what's it's inspired by. And I had a bit of a realization. I don't know if this is a fair analysis or not, but this is kind of like a modern day clan, tribe, mantra, war song type thing. Like we think of tribal music, right? We think of old music and drums and people with their, swords and they're going to war and they're charging in. Long time ago. That's what I think of. And maybe that's dumb. Maybe that's cliche or stereotype. I have no idea. But when I think of like tribal music, old clans clashing with each other and the music that, what was those movies. Anyway, I think you guys get the idea. I wonder if this is just a modern day version of that. Warring factions, crazy environment. And they're making the music that they need that both kind of expresses the emotion, details what's going on around them, celebrates their victories, helps them cope with the pain. I don't know how accurate that is, but it did cross my mind and it did help me settle in with it a little bit more and not feel so just shitty for listening to it in a sense. And then I listened to it again. I was working on the garage, working on my bike, getting some stuff ready. And listening in the garage is a neat experience too. Because, again, it's a different setting. I'm focused on this and, I'm accidentally slipping the wrench and punching the metal with my knuckles and it hurts and I get a little mad and the blood gets flowing. And so really what I'm trying to say through this long-winded explanation is it was nice for me to have these breaks between listens because I would listen to it, essentially process it, put it away for a bit, and then come back. And I did that, I think 4, maybe 5 times or so. And I really noticed on my last full listen in the garage, working on my bike, got it cranked up on my Bluetooth speaker. Yeah. Really going with it. So, on the reaction, Love Sosa, you guys all probably saw me like not really be totally into it. And I mentioned how, after the rant, I would have put I Don't Like as the opening track. Well, apparently that song already existed from a mixtape or something. And so they didn't start the new debut album with the song that everybody already knew, which makes sense. But going through the songs, Hallelujah's cool. I Don't Like, No Tomorrow. I like Love Sosa as well. Hate Being Sober. I still don't have a heart next to KK. I still like Laughing to the Bank. I think it's just odd. It's kind of creepy. I feel like it's a good, strange, dark acknowledgement of some of the unsettled feelings I have about this kind of music. And if I feel weird listening to it, knowing well, having an idea of where it comes from. Imagine you're the person making it, and you're the person living the experiences that are inspiring it, and you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars because of that. That is even, that's my experience times 10 or times 100. And then laughing to the bank, but nothing about this is funny, Anyway, that's my own interpretation of that song. Diamonds. I mean, basically the whole album, I can listen from top to bottom. Even on the deluxe version, I was letting it roll through, got them bands and Don't Make No Sense. And on the reaction, I was talking about how when I got to Kobe, I was like, okay, I'm done. I had had enough. I'd heard enough. But this afternoon on my final listen, I wasn't done. Like, it was over and I was okay with that, but I wasn't ready to turn it off or not listen to the last couple tracks, whatever. I was very comfortable with it running from top to bottom. And actually, the last listen, the album completed before I was done doing the stuff I wanted to do. And I was like, oh, man, now I got to pick something else. Like, I was totally fine with it being there and being present and just kind of being in the background, pushing me along and giving me energy in a sense. I have a note here talking about being critical of the money and the spending, and because I mentioned that quite a bit in the reaction. And there is a part of me that does feel badly for that, because it's a tough balance between expressing an opinion but also not wanting to sound like a judgmental asshole. And sometimes those things just collide. That's all there is to it. And I do feel badly in a sense of being so critical, talking about, essentially talking down against these ideas of buying fancy clothes and getting bands and cars, because there's a lot of that in this album. But when you fold in the idea, especially with, just no tomorrow, why would you practice any kind of fiscal responsibility if you legitimately believe and you have an environment around you that reinforces and proves the belief to be true that you could be dead any day, any day? And so I kind of want to retract that criticism, but then at the same time, I almost also want to double down on it, because money and throwing money at these holes, it doesn't fill it up. And so I was very conflicted in that stance of, the person who does live a life where they could be gone any day, and, well, you might as well just live, right? If you never know when you're going to die, and it could be literally any day, then you might as well live to the fullest, because what's the point of trying to preserve anything for down the road if that road doesn't even exist? But then at the same time, using money, using fancy things, drugs, whatever, to try and fill these holes that are just pain, it's bottomless, and it doesn't solve the problem. And so I remember in the reaction at one point asking, once you get like millions and millions of dollars, great, now what? And it's weird, because I think that question is still valid in the sense of, the concept of I'm finally rich implies now all my problems are solved. Well, let's not go that far. That's a little too far. But it does have this implication of, okay, great, now I don't have to whatever. But if you go through that kind of environment and you come out with that much trauma, essentially, money ain't going to fucking fix that. Buying nice things doesn't fix that. Anyway, I don't want to harp on that. I just wanted to essentially apologize and elaborate a little bit. So hopefully I don't sound like an asshole, but maybe I just sound like an asshole. There you go.
You sound neat.
I'm not going to even repeat what my wife just said. It was terrible. No, she just made fun of me because I probably said neat in there again. Interesting experience. In terms of the music, some people, I go through the comments and it's like, Bob, you just got to listen to the music. Like, stop worrying about this. I can't. I'm sorry. This is how I process music. And this is why I love music, because it's its own experience and its own journey. If I just listen to it, then it might as well all be the same, because I get the same fucking experience from it. This experience this week has been very, very not interesting and not neat. Another adjective to describe those feelings. Basically, just a collision, a very strong collision. And again, I'm so far removed from all this stuff, and it just feels like some of these people live on an entirely different planet. And I don't like that. I don't I don't like that at all. And I mean, great. Right. Okay, great. You know, am I just trying to make my own self feel better for saying those things? I feel so helpless in it. I can't fix it. I don't know what the solution would be anyway. And even if I did have the solution, I would have probably no means of implementing it. It just fucking, it's wild. It's heartbreaking. It doesn't make any sense. It's just, in a nutshell, I mean, it just shows how out of control life really is. And I don't know, man. I mean, I want to sit here and go, oh, I'm so thankful for this and that, and I am. But again, what does that even mean when somebody else a couple states over is, watching their friends get shot up? It's just weird, man. It's very weird, very weird. And it's kind of a baffling experience when it's brought to you by music that was made 10 years ago through a streaming service. Like, it's when you really like pick apart all these mechanics, at least for me, it starts getting very surreal, And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is very peculiar. Not interesting. Peculiar. But overall, enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the music. I've enjoyed the experience. I've enjoyed the mental challenge. I've enjoyed the exploration, I suppose. I mean, life's a ride, That's how I feel about life. Life is a ride, and this was definitely its own ride, for sure. Okay, that's enough. Tomorrow's video is actually already recorded and posted on Patreon, like I mentioned. Anti by Rihanna, and it'll be up first thing tomorrow morning on Friday. And that will be it. This is the last you're going to see of me from 2023. So I hope everyone has a happy new year. Be safe, please. Have fun, but be safe. Don't be too stupid. You can be a little stupid, but not too stupid. Okay? All right, y'all. Take care. We'll see you.